Today we're going to talk about removing a denominator from a equation that has fractions in it. So removing, and this is a really good skill. It makes solving your equation a whole lot simpler. So keep in mind, essentially all we're going to do is we are going to multiply the entire equation by the common denominator. So if I gave you an example, if I said 2/5 x minus x over 10 is equal to 6. Now this looks a little intimidating at first, but don't stress over it. We simply need to think about what is our common denominator with 5 and 10. Well, our common denominator is 10. So I am going to multiply this entire equation by 10. And that means I'm going to distribute 10 throughout. So I'm going to say 10 over 1 times 2/5 x. I'm going to say 10 over 1 times a negative 1x over 10, because remember there is a 1 here. And I'm going to say 10 over 1 times 6 over 1. You don't actually have to have the 1s there. Now we learned last year about simplification. So I can cross simplify and I get 4x. I can cross simplify here. I get negative 1x. Top times top is 60. Now it looks like what we've done in the past. So I can think about my steps when I solve equations. I can collect like terms. I get 3x equals 60. And now, based on the division property of equality, x is 20. And what that means is I can put 20 in place here and here, solve it, and I will get 6. So let's look at another example of this. Let's try one that's not quite so nice. Let's say 3/8 x is equal to x over 3 plus 4 over 3. So again, think about what your common denominator is. Our common denominator between 8 and 3 is 24. So I am going to multiply this entire equation by 24. So I have 24 over 1 times 3/8 x. 24 over 1 times, you can put a 1 in front of this x, over 3. And 24 over 1 times 4 over 3. Think about your cross simplification that we can do. 8 goes into 8 once, 8 goes into 24 3 times, so I have 9x. 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 24 8 times, I have 8x. 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 24 8 times, so I have 32. And now it looks like what we talked about last week. We have a variable on both sides. Now, typically we want to try to move the smaller one, of course. In this case, we absolutely have to move this one because we want to get all the variables together. If I move the 9x, I end up with 0. I don't want that. So I'm going to minus 8x from both sides. X equals 32. One more example, and then I'm going to let you do a couple on your own, and we'll look at them tomorrow when you come into class. So what if I gave you x plus 4 over 3 minus 4 is equal to x minus 11 over 4. Don't stress out. You can put these in parentheses if you want to, but same concept. It just looks a little more complicated. Common denominator is going to be 12. You could put a 1 underneath here if you wanted. So let's multiply this whole thing by 12. So I have 12 x plus 4 over 3 minus 12 times 4, 12 times x minus 11 over 4. Now this is where it gets a little bit tricky. So we need to think about, well, this, let's start here. This is easy. This is minus 48. That's not a problem. Think about this, 12 over 3. 12 over 3 is 4, but I still have this outside my parentheses, so I'm going to have to distribute 4x plus 16. Same thing here. This becomes a 3 that I have to distribute, equals 3x minus 33. And now we've distributed. We can collect like terms. 4x minus, what is that, 36, 32 is equal to 3x minus 33. Move your variables to one side. Again, try to move the smaller. So I'm going to move my 3x by subtracting it. X minus 32 equals a negative 33. Make sure you bring that sign down. Plus 32. X equals a negative 1. So I'm going to give you a couple to try on your own, and we're going to come back together in class tomorrow, and we will look at that. So I want you to try y over 6 minus y over 4 equals 5. I want you to try, let's try 2a plus a over 3 equals a over 4 plus 5. And let's try x minus 7 over 5 plus 2 equals x plus 8 over 10. Have a good night.